Hello, welcome back to my channel. And if you are new here, I'm so glad that you are here. For those of you who maybe are just tuning in for the first time or haven't checked out any of my videos, I talk so much about subconscious reprogramming and reprogramming our nervous system so that our mind and body are realigned and we tune and really reconnect back to ourselves, our soul, our inner child. And I go a lot into how we can actually intentionally do this in a way that is like, here are the steps, here are the tools, and it really is that simple. It's not easy, but it really is simple when you do the work to reprogram everything so that it is aligned and we are intentionally working with the mind and the body together and not just focusing on one thing trying to solve our entire life problems. We are doing it very intentionally and doing the deep inner healing work that needs to be done to do that. So that was a mouthful, but that is really where my videos have been focused on. I've had this YouTube channel for quite a while, so you'll see different versions of me on here if you go back and watch some of my older videos. But I have since started a clothing brand called Love Your Body Now, and that focus is to remind women that we are worthy regardless of how we look, how we may feel. And that brand has really started to expand to in person events, retreats, and now mentorship. So I want to dive into today talking all about anxiety and stress and worry and how we can actually start to heal those natural emotions that maybe we experience on a regular day-to-day basis, which, by the way, that is not normal. These emotions that so many of us experience like all the time in our regular day-to-day life, we are in a state of survival mode when we experience these emotions. And these emotions are definitely necessary for our survival. Like, if we are in a stressful situation that our life depends on it, we need these emotions to trigger and create this fight or flight response in order for us to remain alive. So, I want to start by saying that these emotions are necessary. However, it's important to recognize that they are survival emotions. And what a lot of people also need to realize is a lot of almost the entire population is living in a state of survival, and we don't need to be. Living in a state of survival literally means your stress hormones are kicked on. Like, we are trying to make sure that there's no danger, that we are okay, that we are safe. And in today's day and age, like with the modern society that we are living in, this is not necessary, but also it is not good for our health. And even when we were living back in the day, like without this whole modern society, like people were not living in this state 24/7. I'm sure it kicked on like a lot more frequently, especially like with the amount of danger and like just life-threatening things that would come up. But it still was only kicked on for when it was actually necessary. And what I am really starting to notice with the whole anxiety and stress and like people pleasing topics, like these topics are being talked about a lot. Like I see them everywhere. I even see clothing brands that talk about anxiety, like almost to the point where it seems like people are identifying with these emotions and these feelings, which again, I think that having awareness, having the conversation about these emotions, about these feelings that people are experiencing more commonly, like they're experiencing it more and more, and I think it's important to talk about it, but it is not we should not be identifying with anxiety, because what this is doing is it's literally creating programming within us that is creating an identity within us that we are anxiety, we are stress, we are people pleasers. And when this happens, our brain and our nervous system are going to work together to prove that these identities are right, are truth. Because I talk about this programming, subconscious reprogramming, and the nervous system work. I talk about how it all works together and what it is doing. For example, when we self sabotage, like why we self sabotage, and how we can start to really identify that in our life and rewrite our own programming intentionally. So, when people are identifying with anxiety, they are speaking to other people. I have anxiety. I have anxiety. I people please. I do this. Like they are saying these blanket statements. I am this. I have this. Like this is who I am. You are programming within your mind and your body to experience anxiety all of the time, because I talk about it in other videos how this works, but whatever your identities are, your brain is going to drive your thoughts and beliefs to find the proof in your external world. And it is also creating a chemical response within your body to reinforce not only the beliefs, but to reinforce what's going on within your nervous system so that it all is like reinforced together. And the more that you do this within your day to day, the more you are solidifying the belief, which is why I think it's so important to be very, very careful with how you speak about anxiety, with how you speak about people pleasing, with how you speak about your fears and your worries and what you're stressing about. It is so important to be careful about how you are talking about them and how you are talking with other people about them, or when you see funny memes or clothing brands, right? Where they talk about anxiety, but maybe they say something about how it's like a part of your identity. I've seen it before. And I think that the purpose behind this type of content is good-hearted. Like I feel like there's a lot of good intention behind it, because again, we want to have these conversations. We want to raise awareness so people don't feel alone, so people can better understand themselves. But what I think it's creating is this normalization around this is who I am. This is normal for me to experience this. And that's wrong. That it's not normal to experience anxiety and stress and overly people pleasing and constant overwhelm in your life. That is not normal. And if that is what you are experiencing, that means there's work to be done. Like there's something to reflect on within your life, within your internal thoughts and beliefs, because there is a reason you're experiencing it. But you can't just go to the outside world and say this is just what we are experiencing as a society, like, and not even question it, not even ask yourself, well, why am I experiencing it? Or a lot of people, they go see the doctor and they get prescribed medication, which I'm not saying is not necessary. Like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to act like I know everything about when that is necessary for some people. But so many people, like it's almost more than the general population, it seems like is experiencing this to some capacity out of nowhere, right? We've been living for how many years, and now all of a sudden, people are starting to experience these things and struggle with it at such a detrimental level, to the point where you see like suicide rates going up and people experiencing depression and people saying that they're not fulfilled by their life and they're just going through the motions of their life. Like that is not normal. And I think we need to, instead of completely normalizing that anxiety, so many people are experiencing anxiety, I think we need to talk about how do we actually fix this? How do we get to the root cause of why we are all of a sudden all experiencing this? And give people tools and resources on how they can do the work. Like, yes, go to therapy. People need therapy. And like, therapy doesn't mean that you're broken, it doesn't mean that you have to fix a ton of things in your life. Therapy is such a useful tool. But I think it's also important to empower people to navigate this, even if they aren't going to therapy, or maybe they're not always at therapy and people don't really understand how to manage anxiety and how to, again, like get to that root problem, cause of the problem, and how to start to do intentional work to fix it. I think a lot of people struggle with the autonomy in themselves, that they can actually be the ones to fix this problem. And they always, like, a lot of people look outside of themselves to fix an anxiety, right? Like the medication and maybe just like talking to other people about it, which again, I think there's it's necessary. It's part of the resources, right, that we should have access to help with these things. But I don't think that there are a lot of people talking about how do you actually go within to fix the root of the problem on our own, and as a way to additionally add to our resources and add to our toolbox. Because I was someone who experienced depression, I experienced anxiety, I experienced chronic stress, overwhelm. I People pleasing was a very intense coping mechanism for me personally. And I went on this healing journey of really trying to do the inner work, not just consume and learn as much as I possibly could, because that was part of my journey as well, where I just was so obsessed with self growth and personal development to the point where I just consumed a lot of information, but I didn't do the actual inner healing work that it takes to really transform your identity to like a whole new version of yourself. And I really started to dedicate myself to my healing journey for a good year. And on the other side of it, like I didn't intentionally go out to do this work, my inner work, to stop experiencing anxiety, to stop stressing about everything, to stop doubting myself about everything. I didn't do it for those reasons. But now that I'm on the other side of it, at least like the deep work that I really needed, I don't experience anxiety. I don't have really like stress and things keeping me up at night of like worries that are consuming me how I used to. I will have things that come up in my life that normally for most people and for myself would really stress someone out, like financial stuff that would come up that was unexpected, or just situations that feel very unknown that have come up in my life. And my initial response is no longer this like, I'm so stressed, like what are we going to do? I don't have the answers, like feeling very in survival mode. I don't experience that anymore. Of course, there's still internal work, that there's always more growth within us. And I'm really learning what it means to do that work and become very, very, very self aware in situations where emotions do come up, and I'm able to identify them and really like focus on the reprogramming in the moment and work with my nervous system as well in that moment. But I didn't know that that was what I would be experiencing on the other side of it. I didn't know that this inner work that I didn't know that it was the answer to healing my anxiety and depression and chronic stress and people pleasing and learning how to have boundaries. All of that comes from the inner work that you do, whether you're healing inner wounds that you haven't worked through throughout your life, or you are starting to uncover the subconscious beliefs that you carry that you were conditioned to believe, and you are realizing that they're no longer serving you, but they are still running your entire life, and becoming aware of your nervous system and how that all plays a role in your ability to make behavior changes and rewrite your subconscious beliefs. Like all of this plays, like it all comes together. And when you can be so intentional with this work, you really can like come back to your most truest self. You can do your inner healing and reconnect back to the inner child within you and be fully aligned. Like step into what alignment truly means, where you are aligned mind, body, and soul. And that is the work that I am so passionate about now today, because I went through it. And I'm like, this is like 5 years of work, okay? It's not like I just decided one day that I was going to heal and all of a sudden everything clicked for me. I started my growth journey in 2020, and I've been coaching women in the health coaching and fitness realm in since 2020, on and off. I've had my podcast where I just like educated so much about health and fitness and how we can work to heal through our body image. Like I talked about how I was struggling with my own body image and how I was working through it on that podcast in real time. And then I finally like made the decision to like go even deeper with myself. And it took me a long time to really fully come like full circle. But now I understand why I had to go through all of it, because I was meant to help other people, especially other women, do the same. Because I think literally since 2020, when I started my journey and began my journey, there was just like something deep within me, this inner knowing that I craved more than what life was. I knew that there was more. I knew that the path that I was on was not the right path. Like I completely changed my plans last minute out of nowhere for like I don't even know how I got to the decision. It just was, I got to a point in my life where I was like, I can't keep pretending and going on this like expected life path for myself that I know in my heart feels wrong, but I don't know what's on the other side of that decision. I out of nowhere just decided, like, my life path that I was on, I completely scribbled it out, ripped it out of the page, crumbled it up and threw it away and said I'm starting from scratch. And I moved out of state, no car, no job, no money, no friends and family minus my husband, which is why I moved like clear cross country. I had no plans at all. And this was literally right when COVID began, so everything was shut down. Like my life was, I had turned an entire new chapter and had no idea what it was going to look like. But I'm so grateful that I did, because you may be in a season where you are on a life path that feels not good. It maybe you can feel it in your body that something feels off, that you don't feel like you're on the right path, but you don't know what else to do, right? Maybe you've been on this path for so long that it's like, how can I actually just how do I even start to walk away from it? How do I even start to figure out what my path actually is? And I promise you, if you are feeling that within you, maybe maybe you just feel it as like a little nudge and it's kind of like a quiet, tiny little voice within you. You need to tune into that because that is your soul. That is your intuition and your inner guide trying to wake you up. It is trying to get you on the right path, and you will never be on your right path, the reason you are meant to be here, if you don't start to take the incremental steps that you need to take in order to get you back on your path. And that takes time, and that takes a lot of self trust, even when you don't have all of the answers, even when you don't have all of the steps that are going to show you what this looks like. Because if you're like me, I need a plan. I work best with knowing what's going to happen. What are we going to do with all these? Like, I just need to know all of the steps. That is how I'm wired. That is how I like to work. So, for someone like that, and maybe that is like you, who struggles with making decisions when you don't know everything, it can feel really hard to trust yourself. It can feel really hard to make a decision based off your heart and your intuition and completely ignore what your brain is telling you, because they are two separate things. They are not always going to be in sync. They are not always going to be telling you the same thing, but your inner guide is never wrong. Your soul, your heart, your intuition will never steer you wrong because it knows why you are here. It knows your purpose, it knows why you came here in the first place, and it will always work to put you on your right path, and your mind will always work to protect you. So when you can start to understand that, you can start to build that self-trust. And building self-trust, if you haven't created that for yourself, it does take time, but you can do it in such small steps. You can do it in baby steps where you will start to build your self trust more and more and more. And that inner voice within you that is trying to guide you, it will be so much easier to listen to. It will be so much easier to trust it and tune into it when you need to, as you continue to build your self trust. So I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but it is all very connected. It all goes together. And since my last video, I have actually shared an announcement on my Instagram and my email list that we are officially going to be launching a 6-month mentorship and retreat for those who are really craving this full body alignment, mind, body, and soul. They are ready to connect back to self. They are ready to let go of societal expectations and the fear and the doubt and the anxiety running their life. They are ready to be present and just connected with themselves again. They are craving more. They know that there's more meant for them, and they are ready to step into that. So that is what we're going to be launching here really soon at at the end of March. So I have created a wait list because the doors are not open yet. And the purpose of this wait list, so if you get on it, and you will be the first to get the opportunity to join the mentorship and the retreat. The retreat is obviously going to be very, very limited because I've booked a luxury cabin already, and it only has so many spots available for it. So obviously the people who are on the wait list are going to get access first, are going to get that opportunity to join first. So if you know that that sounds like something you are interested in, I will link it below. For those who either miss out with the retreat because the spots are limited, or maybe the retreat you are not 100% sure if that is something that you can attend, the mentorship is still going to be available, and it will be like a separate option available when we do launch it. So if you are still looking for a 6-month mentorship, and just a little FYI of what it is, like, you'll be able to click the link and read more about what it actually you'll get from it. But the mentorship is all about one call is going to be dedicated to the mind and intentional subconscious reprogramming. And then the second call is going to be dedicated to working with the body and the nervous system reprogramming. So, again, we're getting in tune with mind body. We want to be fully aligned mind, body, and soul by the end of this 6-month mentorship. And we will bring in guest speakers as well, kind of as like a bonus for some of the calls. There will be um, a group chat where all of the women who are a part of the mentorship will be in there together in that container. And so then that way they have ongoing support throughout the entire 6 months. And then the retreat is really about stepping into this new version of ourselves that we have worked to get to throughout the whole 6 months. It's a full embodiment focus. It's a full like releasing of all of the beliefs that and the energy that we no longer want to carry with us. So it is a whole experience, okay? And I wanted to be able to offer it even if you can't attend the retreat. The retreat is going to be an incredible experience, and um, such deep intentional work is going to happen with that retreat. But just know, like, we are still going to be doing the work in the mentorship. That is where a lot of the heavy lifting work is going to take place. So I wanted to make sure that women could still be a part of that container if this is calling them, if this is, you feel that nudge in your heart saying, like, I need this. So make sure you join the waitlist. It will be opening up on March 31st. So you have from now until March 31st to join the waitlist. The waitlist is going to get first access to when we open the doors. And if we sell out with just the waitlist alone, then no, like it won't even be available on social media at that point. So just know, like, that is, if you want to be updated on that, if you want to get in on that, that is where you do it. That will be where you get first access. um, and yeah, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments. I'll leave my email as well if you want to reach out with more I guess in-depth questions that you may have. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye.